Hey there, my name is Jasmine, and this is Assessment 1 Acting Principles presentation for Annie 306. This podcast will analyse the character animation principles of a 1-minute scene from the Disney Pixar movie Monsters, Inc. The scene is about halfway through the movie and is about 43 minutes 40 seconds to 44 minutes 44 seconds. I've chosen this specific scene because I feel it clearly displays the principles of acting in character animation. So, before I start analysing, let's take a look at the scene.
Where's the kid?
Kid? What kid?
It's here in the factory, isn't it?
You're not pinning this on me. It never would have gotten out if you hadn't been cheating last night.
Cheating! Cheating. Right. Okay, I think I know how to make this all go away. What happens when the whistle blows in 5 minutes?
I get a timeout?
Everyone goes to lunch! Which means the scare floor will be...
Painted?
empty! It'll be empty, you idiot! You see that clock? When the big hand is pointing up, and the little hand is pointing up, the kid's door will be in my station. But when the big hand points down, the door will be gone. You have until then to put the kid back. Get the picture?
So, let me quickly recap what we just saw. Mike is running. He stops behind a wall to check if Randall is pursuing him. He looks relieved for a moment until realizing that Randall is behind him. Randall shoves Mike into the wall, demanding answers. Mike denies everything and accuses Randall of cheating. Randall retaliates, but then accepts the accusation, hinting on a way to fix the problem. Randall evidently gets frustrated with Mike's inability to comprehend what he is trying to communicate, and the scene ends with Mike being turned into a clock. So in hindsight, we have a conflict between a hero and anti-hero in a very significant part of the movie. In this scene, Mike plays an action in pursuit of an objective while overcoming an obstacle. The primary emotions here are anger and fear. We see anger through Randall's frustration in his attempts to communicate with Mike. He shows off a variety of broad gestures, making Randall most definitely the dominant figure in this scene. He moves very rigidly and suddenly, irrationally waving arms with extreme gestures. His actions are quick and snappy, yet are on screen long enough to communicate his frustration to the audience. He performs a series of subtle gestures. His hands become clenched with teeth gritted, and his eyes are almost always narrowed. Joints in the arms become locked when his movement becomes stiff. There is actually some twinning in his gestures, which in fact is often looked down upon in animation. But the presence of twinning is not always necessarily terrible. People naturally perform symmetrical actions all the time. The only time when twinning is really acceptable in a gesture is when the character is trying to get a point across. Symmetry is a good way of adding force to an action, which Randall is definitely trying to do here. He's constantly straining and raising his voice.
Where's the kid? You idiot! Cheating!
Though the way he manhandles Mike is really what demonstrates his ruthless character. In the end, Randall's irrationality leads him to hurting Mike to prove his point.
Get the picture?
Mike himself displays a short instance of anger, stabbing at Randall with his finger. This is, of course, before he becomes passive and quiet under Randall's outburst. Fear is shown through the way Mike reacts to Randall's anger. Mike seems adamant at first, but quickly turns submissive, especially towards the end. We can see this through the way Mike cowers under Randall. His initial reaction to Randall's sudden appearance, if not anything, is a sign of fear. He seems tense and shows a reluctance to fight against Randall's hold. Both his brow and eyelid are raised. The corner of his mouth is pulled outwards and downwards, and the soft whining sound is the final indication of fear. Every element of a character's actions, no matter how small, communicates a message to the audience. Both Mike and Randall convey a variety of micro-expressions. These micro-expressions hint what the character is thinking before he or she acts upon them, and in this shot, Randall is a wonderful example of this. This is where the negotiation starts. Here it seems as if Randall was ready to deny cheating, but instead he stops and his expression softens into a smile. Inner thoughts can be expressed through the facial features of a character. And because of that quick glimpse of a smile, we, the audience, know that this character has had a thought and is now going to act upon that thought. Something has happened to make Randall play out a different action to the one previously, and this can be seen both internally and externally. Randall then recoils and adopts a different personality entirely. His actions are now slowed, and he even looks as if he is pondering on the preceding thought. He is adopting this friendly demeanor in hope that Mike conforms to him. The scene then becomes more of a questions and answers session, where Randall is the teacher and Mike is the student. Randall puts on a fake smile and appears quite open to Mike.
What happens when the whistle blows in 5 minutes?
Mike's pupil shifts as if in thought.
I get a timeout?
He looks up at Randall in a way that says, "Did I get it right?" And of course he didn't. Randall barks the correct answer in Mike's face, showing his true colors for a moment before shifting back to being calm. The way he closes his eyes and raises his shoulders like he is taking a deep breath shows how hard he is trying to stay this way.
Everyone goes to lunch, which means the scare floor will be...
We can almost see what Mike is thinking through his micro-expressions. His lips are compressed, as if he's not sure if he wants to open his mouth or not. What the heck is this guy on about? I have no idea what the answer is. Should I even attempt to answer this time? The audience can really empathize with Mike here. Empathy helps make the animation believable, because the audience feels as if they themselves are involved. It's not often that someone hasn't been in a situation like this. Someone is expecting you to know the answer, when really you have no freaking clue. You'd probably answer like Mike did. He looks to the side before guessing.
Painted?
Now he says it like he's really guessing here. You can almost hear the question mark at the end of that word. Mike's answer appears to be as incorrect as the last, sending Randall into a wild frenzy.
Empty! It'll be empty, you idiot!
His actions seem very theatrical, very broad gestures, his arms outstretched to signify the word empty. Like Mike, the audience can also empathize with Randall, but only to a point of knowing how irritability feels. A quick glance at the clock establishes the secondary action. Randall has lost all patience and is now reducing Mike to a clock, using his arms with the little hand and the big hand. Knowing all too well what pain feels like, the sound of cracking bones helps the audience emphasize with Mike.
But when the big hand points down,
The small whimper and nod ends the scene nicely.
the door will be gone. You have until then to put the kid back. Get the picture?
Every little movement, every little gesture, every little mannerism. These things explain what the character is feeling and what their motivations are. The character's objectives have been made clear to us through their actions. Without an objective, a character has no justification to be on screen. So within every scene, there needs to be a character objective. Randall's motivation is the human child, Boo. His objective for this scene is to get Mike to comply with him so that he can get to Boo through Mike. Randall serves as Mike's obstacle. Mike's objective is to get back to Sully and Boo, but after failing to flee from Randall, his objective has changed. His objective here is to answer Randall correctly, which didn't even happen, so poor Mike. These two are certainly very contrasting characters, and can easily be classified as binary opposites. Randall's many needle-sharp teeth are very prominent when he shows off that menacing grin. He's a poor-postured lizard with a constant glare and stressed voice. This, plus lack of patience and erratic behavior, makes it quite clear that Randall is the antagonist here. Mike is smaller, rounder, and seems physically more human than Randall, apart from the lack of one eye. He is not quick to anger, and his voice is not raised. He seems to be the victim of Randall's frustration in the scene, making it easier for the audience to sympathize with him. Based on the character design, I actually think it would have been quite a challenge to animate Randall. He's got double the legs and double the arms, which of course means more acting resulting in more animation. That, and the way he slithers like a snake or lizard. Although this may have put a lot of stress and strain on the animator, Randall's actions still successfully followed the principles of acting in character animation, making for much believability. Pixar made Randall perfect for the role of antagonist. Mike, having one eye instead of two, would have been interesting to animate in regards to micro-expressions. Here, when he's angry, his one eyelid acts as two eyelids, lowering in the middle to communicate a frown. His rounded body practically screams for stretch and squash, which in return makes for good theatrical acting. This was a very entertaining scene, and both characters have proved to be very convincing. Even if you took away the speech, the audience would still understand everything clearly through the pantomime. And even if a person were to start watching now, from this point in the film, they would still be able to decipher who's the good and who's the bad. The gestures and mannerism, and the way the characters react to one another, is what has made this scene so believable. I've had a lot of fun analysing both Mike Wazowski and Randall Box, two characters out of many in this wonderful universe that is Monsters, Inc. Pixar does such a good job handling their characters, and I hope that this podcast has been proof of that.